Joe talks about Joe. And now, your host, Joe Slepsky.
Hello, listeners, and welcome back to Joe on Joe Extreme. It's me, your host, and we are back once again. If you noticed last week, we did the back in time to catch up on episode 7, and then we jumped forward ahead to episode 8 from the previous week, and now we're back on track with episode 9 of G.I. Joe Extreme. This is Extend a Helping Klaw, originally aired December 1995. This show aired 3 years prior to the birth of my guest today, guys. So we're talking, this is a Joe neophyte, and I am so excited to have him on the show. I think it's going to be fantastic. We're going to get a great perspective. This is a friend of mine. His name is Ben Kruger. He's calling in. He's from New York. He's hunkered down in New Jersey during the pandemic, and I'm really excited because these are fresh eyes. And we've got fresh eyes on Joe and Joe Extreme, and I can't wait to get into this episode with him. Ben Kruger, welcome to Joe on Joe.
Thank you, Joe. Really happy to be here. Really excited for the extreme entry into G.I. Joe here.
It's the most extreme. So you were born literally at the end of the extreme era. The 90s were all
I was born in 88.
You said, that's so funny. I swear I heard you say 98. That's hilarious. I'm not even going to go back and redo the intro.
No, that's fine. I mean, I wish I could be 21 right now. That would be
well. It's the thing. I thought I was talking to like a baby genius here. Oh my God, that's so funny. My hands wrote 98. It does. Listen.
Oh, that's too funny.
It doesn't negate the intro. You don't have any experience with G.I. Joe. You're still fresh to it. You're still fresh to it. I love it.
Yep.
So you're born in 88. So you were born at the tail end, though. You were born at the tail end of Sunbow. You wouldn't have seen any of the DIC stuff. This actually would have been really the first iteration of G.I. Joe that you would have possibly seen.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I just realized what I did. I wrote 98 as your 10-year plus window. That's what I did. I take, listeners, you know me. I take terrible notes. So, but that's the thing. So Ben, you are you work at Google. You're a new dad. You're living in New Jersey. The pandemic literally forced you out of New York. Tell us a little bit about what's going on with you right now.
A lot. Trying to deal with living with the in-laws. I got to say it's quite a challenge.
I hope they're not listeners.
They're not. I'm down in the basement where I can have some space. I think, like you said, I've got a 10-month-old baby. We were pretty much uprooted from the city. We lived in the Upper East Side, and in like a tiny 1-bedroom apartment. We tried to last as long as we could there, but we were really scared to go outside. And
sure,
the city is just very, it got hit really hard, and the city became a totally different place, right? There were no restaurants, no museums, like no reason to live in the city anymore because everything was just closed, and the buildings are so dense, right? There's probably like 600 units in my apartment building. So just using the elevator and like going outside maybe it was okay, but it felt risky. So we didn't know. So we kind of just left.
It's so smart. And you've got a 10-month-old kid.
Yep.
Little boy, you said his name was Shane?
Shane, yeah.
And is he perfection? Tell me about him.
He's so much fun, yeah. We just went swimming out here. So yeah, like he's got greenery now. He's got space.
Mm-hmm.
He's a little tank. He is eating. We're like constantly introducing him to new foods, and he's just loving it.
Yeah, that's great.
We haven't found anything he doesn't like yet. And to be honest, like the positive of all of this is I'm spending so much more time with him than I think I could have ever imagined. So I'm seeing him go through these like progressions, month by month. So it's been for the foreseeable future. I'm going to be working from home. So seeing him grow up and spending a lot of time with him, and hey, maybe, I can introduce him to Joe a lot earlier than I am. So
absolutely. He doesn't have to wait 30 years to get into G.I. Joe.
Exactly.
Absolutely. So, so talking about working from home, you work for Google.
Mm-hmm.
And you help me out in my normal everyday job, and you're an awesome resource for us. So,
thank you very much.
Thank you, and tell the listeners kind of what your role is at Google, to give people some idea of because Google is massive. So you guys
Yes.
have tendrils everywhere and really helpful resources everywhere. So tell the listeners a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, so I work with, I'd say small to medium sized e-commerce businesses and help them leverage the Google platform to drive, ultimately drive revenue and sales for their business, but help them do so in a profitable or efficient manner. Because, these businesses are investing with Google to drive, traffic to their website or drive sales in their stores. So I help them sort of navigate the platform and leverage a lot of the best practices or things that I see work, because I get to work with a number of different e-commerce businesses. So I have access to more of like testing and best practices and things like that. So really just trying to help drive strategy and drive growth for the brands that I work with.
And that's so important right now as businesses are really, really suffering. Have you seen any changes since in these last 2 months? I'm
absolutely.
sure you have. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about that. Like, what have people just been scrambling to make do, or some people have been thriving? What have you been seeing?
Yeah, it really runs across the board. I think clients in really affected industries like travel or events are really feeling the pain just because of, the lack of both, I guess, supply. I have like some theater companies who like there's no shows right now, so there's no supply, and there's also no demand because no one is looking for tickets. Travel is really hit as well, and that's probably not news to anybody. But I think in the more positive side, there are businesses where customers are, realizing that they need things, or I think so backing up a little bit, like right when this hit, I think all of us, myself included, all consumers, like just really focused on the essentials and what they need. So primarily grocery and any medical things that you may need.
And toilet paper.
Oh my God.
Let's not forget
the great, how could I forget?
The great toilet paper scare of 2020. Three to 4 weeks of people going, how am I going to wipe my butt?
Yeah. So there was that huge surge, in the essentials. And then I think now over time, people are realizing that, you can start buying some things like, like jigsaw puzzles took a big, surge, workout equipment, everything is, people are doing things at home now, and, they're trying to get their life back together and get their routines back. So and at the same time, what I think is really interesting is that Amazon focused on the essentials. So they stopped fulfilling, or they stopped like letting third-party sellers ship inventory to Amazon's warehouses. So they didn't have all the supplies or like all of the products that customers usually go to Amazon for. And then they also really slowed down their fulfillment, right? So it used to take 2 days on Prime, is now taking like 10 to 14 days. So a lot of these small retailers or e-commerce sites have been able to leverage that and show up in more of what we say, like in the Google auction, when people are looking for a specific product, they're appearing more regularly and it's cheaper to do so. And customers are, turning away from Amazon in some spaces and moving towards smaller retailers who probably are getting all these, they're all incremental sales. And so some of those categories are really thriving because of that. So it's been fun to help these businesses, and a lot of them are experiencing too much demand, and they're having trouble in the back end fulfilling a lot of these orders. So something I think you would never think would happen is happening. So it's new to everybody, and we're all trying to figure it out. And like I said, working with so many different brands, I'm able to like pick out some themes and help navigate that where I think I can.
That's great, and that's such a helpful tool. And I love that a company as big and as essential as Google still has that eye towards helping the small businesses.
For sure.
Yeah.
And also the people, right? Like people are looking for truth, I guess, or looking for facts. And I think, I don't want to get political, but different news channels and different sources, it's tough. So people do rely on Google for facts. And I think we've done a really good job at trying to stay authentic and, only promoting what we know is to be true. And, we want to be that reliable source of information for people. So people turn to us for help, and, that's our goal, is to really help our users.
Well,
so I've enjoyed seeing that.
Yeah, me too. And I think it is the biggest testament is the last few years, whenever you've heard people complain about online stuff, you typically don't hear Google. You hear Facebook,
Right.
you hear Twitter, and Google is like the third leg of that massive tripod of the internet. And Google has done a very good job of keeping things very honest and keeping things legit. And the only thing you ever do here, which is always hilarious, is when some moron is in front of Congress and they go, the Google algorithm is showing, why is Google promoting the Democrats, at the top of the feed
Sure.
when I search for Joe Biden? Why doesn't the Google algorithm tell me about Joe Biden's corrupt son in Russia? And it's like,
Absolutely. Yep.
yeah. And the rest of the world, whatever those questions are, the rest of the world looks at that and goes, you're an idiot. Like, you have no understanding of how Google works. And I think that's a credit to Google and Google's, quasi-transparency. Obviously, your algorithm is your algorithm, and I respect that. But, like this transparency of function.
Sure.
To say,
absolutely,
no, we're not doing that. We're not playing. We're a reflection of what's actually happening, of the the true searches and the true demand for things. So I've always respected that, and I appreciate it a lot. And on a work level, you guys have always been great. You guys have always been very generous and treated your customers really well. So this is
appreciate that. Yeah, we
not that
pride
Google,
ourselves on that.
Yeah, not that Google needs it, but I guess this is an unpaid promotion. Now Ben, this means I expect to see Joe and Joe show up in every search result for anything.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I got you. I'll just tweak it. I'll tweak the algorithm
Please,
for you.
just like the senators think you guys go in and do it. I want to see Joe and Joe start showing up in like searches for like household cleaning products. Well, sure, you need some new mops, but have you heard the latest episode of Joe on Joe?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, if you can't make that happen for me, Ben, I don't know who can, man. I don't know who can.
I'm on it.
Yeah, I love it, man.
I'm on it.
I love it. So that's Ben Kruger, guys, and he's great, and he is the internet. So when you're on the internet, I need you guys to go to Joe and Joe Pod. It's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Send me an email to joeandjoepod@gmail.com. Like me, follow me, give me a review on iTunes. Send me an email if you also want to be a guest on Joe and Joe. Just send me an email, joeandjoepod@gmail.com. I am so happy to have you on the show. I think we always have a good time with guests, and I love having new guests like Ben. People who we're kind of giving them an entree to G.I. Joe and all that stuff. Although, traditionally, G.I. Joe Extreme's probably not the first thing that people say, hey, you've never seen a G.I. Joe episode. Let's start with this. So
I guess I'll see why.
Oh, you're going to see why, Ben. It's going to be a delight. So to correct earlier, you were born in 88. So in 1998, when you were about 10 years old, what kind of stuff were you into, Ben?
I thinking back, I think I was a big Nickelodeon guy. So I think that's like Doug, Hey Arnold, Cat Dog. I don't know if those mean anything to you.
Oh, they absolutely do.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Well,
and I want to say I was probably getting into some wrestling too. I don't know where we were at in WWF versus WWE. Like, I don't know what timing that was.
Wasn't this the Extreme era of WWF? Isn't that literally not to have a pun on G.I. Joe? Wasn't that called the Extreme era?
I think so.
I think so too. Yeah.
I mess up my timing, but
I
was definitely getting in.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And you grew up in Florida.
I did. Yeah. Miami, Florida.
Yeah. So it's funny. So you say Nickelodeon and Doug and Cat Dog and all that here, and those are great. Like they stand the test of time for sure. What's interesting is they didn't really have toy lines. I mean, I think they made products, but they weren't really toys.
No, I definitely did not have any toys from any of these shows.
Yeah,
you're right.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I guess Slime was a big thing on Nickelodeon.
Sure. Yeah.
So we probably had some of that around, but yeah, toy wise, I think I was big into trains.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think actually, I think that's the connection that is happening around this era, where the cartoons and this is the beginning of the internet, right? So content is becoming a thing more so than the products. You know what I'm saying? Like
sure.
they're not driving you to go to the store. Like in this case, these weren't driving you to go to the store and buy their action figures, although I'm sure they would love you to buy Doug lunchboxes and stuff. But these were cartoons that were trying to really drive your eyeballs.
You're right. And then the ads were all toys.
Yeah, for other toys. Yeah.
Unrelated.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
But it's like the cycle that started in the 80s of this toy is the driver and this toy needs to then use a cartoon to sell it. It's now the start of flipping it to these are just great cartoons for kids, and that's where we're going to get the primary money instead of, because making toys is really expensive, especially then. Now I think it's gotten a little easier now with just manufacturing increases, plastics and molding and stuff like that has improved. But at the time, it was really still super, super expensive to make toys. So that would be the primary driver. Now we're getting in this era of content.
Yep.
And that's the early stage of it. It's fascinating.
So was G.I. Joe was toy before show?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So He-Man, G.I. Joe, Transformers, they were all, they were driven by, we're investing, the various companies, we're investing all this ton of capital into selling these, boys' toys. And how do we sell that? Hey, let's make cartoons to indoctrinate them to want, to love this stuff and to play with it. Okay, great. And the cartoons were, I don't think by any stretch they were loss leaders, but they were loss leaders in the sense of it was all about the toys, which to this day, there's still some categories of cartoons that kind of fall into that. We brought this up as the best example that I can remember in recent memory. About 6 years ago, there was a Green Lantern cartoon that was amazing, but it was canceled because it didn't drive any toy sales.
Huh.
Yeah. But if you look at the huge breadth of cartoons that are on, you throw a rock, you hit a cartoon on TV these days. It's no longer waiting for Saturday morning or after school stuff. Most of them don't have toy lines, but it's that action driven stuff. I think that still maybe relies on the toy sales.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's really interesting. I never thought about it like that.
Doug, Kat, have you gone back and watched any of those as an adult, like kind of revisited, maybe and getting prepping Shane to watch stuff?
I feel like I watched the Rugrats Hanukkah special. I think
Rugrats are great. Rugrats are they probably are the standouts from that era.
Oh yeah, incredible stuff. So I haven't watched too much from childhood, but every now and then they come across, these shows come back and like some sort of meme or SpongeBob isn't every meme you could think of.
For sure.
But so they come across that way. And then we always get, I don't know, sometimes people just get into the conversation like, were you like a Cartoon Network kid, a Disney kid, a Nickelodeon kid? And everyone's got their little tribes.
Yeah. It's generational in the sense that as the generation that grew up on it, as their spending power becomes more and also their controlling power. So they start getting jobs at companies, entertainment companies. The things that they loved when they were kids, they look to bring back. In comic books, we saw this recently there was a big wave, like the last 10 years or so, of creators that are roughly my age who loved and grew up with, absolutely adored the stuff from the early 90s Marvel stuff, like X-Men, like Age of Apocalypse and things like that. So there were a ton of Marvel projects that were being made to reference Age of Apocalypse and all this, like this specific era. And prior to that, it was stuff that was referencing the 80s, Secret Wars and all that. So it is definitely generational as the creators as the fans become the creators, and executives and so on, all along the line in all of these businesses. I think it's fascinating to watch.
No, that is, yeah. I guess the inspiration just holds true through that whole.
For sure. And if you're a financial speculator, that's for real. That's kind of the way to go with as far as collecting like comic books or things like that. Think about, the Silver Age right now is always strong, but that nostalgia for the 60s, the market's pretty saturated with it, So then, so now it's going to move to the 70s as those creators start making, they start introducing Blade to the, making Blade movies. We've had 3 Blade movies, but things like that, things of that era, things of that were introduced in the 70s. And then you go, oh, okay, let me look a little forward. And who was created in the 80s? What, what kind of,
oh, wow.
What kind of thing from the 80s is going to become the next big resurgence? So let me go out and buy some vintage, whatever, Rubik's Cubes, or things like that. So I think that's kind of where you, from a speculator financial perspective, that's kind of where you keep your eye on the ball.
I love that. I never thought about that.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Well, that's all I think about, Ben. That's all I think about.
No, now you got me thinking. I got to go buy some. What would be next?
Well, it'd be 90s. So, it's funny from the G.I. Joe perspective. I don't think this is going to play out ever. But right now, G.I. Joe Extreme action figures are so cheap to get. You can get mint on card action figures for like $15.
Wow.
Yeah, which is wild because usually you think mint on card, tends to be a little more expensive, but it is so easy to find G.I. Joe Extreme action figures. I'm sure that there are some pockets of it that are, like one of the figures was made with a very breakable item, so these very hard to get. But every time I've been searching on eBay just randomly for the figures. I'm not a massive figure collector myself, but I like to dabble when I can, and I've been looking for extreme stuff, and they're so inexpensive.
Wow.
So, who knows? Maybe they're doing the Snake Eyes movie right now. Snake Eyes has been, for your iteration, he's probably the most popular G.I. Joe guy. And who knows? Maybe in Snake Eyes, the movie, maybe Iron Claw shows up. I don't know.
Right. Boom.
That's all you need. Yeah, all you need is someone to be like, hey, this is Mayday. And then all of a sudden, and let's say she's played by whatever, Scarlett Johansson. Oh my God, Scarlett Johansson's playing a character called Mayday. Then the demand for that figure through the roof.
Yeah, man.
But
I love this.
Yeah, except for the fact that they never made a Mayday figure because she was slotted for line 2 and they never got around to it. Well, I'm excited, listeners. I hope you are too. Ben, we're going to get into this episode. Listeners, turn on your videos. Get your mouse finger ready to click play. We are watching Extend a Helping Claw, and here we go. So now, this is Iron Claw and a guy called Rampage. Rampage, we refer to on the show, Ben, is he's like Hulk meets Iron Man.
Okay.
So he's a businessman. You see him in the suit and all that stuff. And actually,
he's got the slick back hair.
Yeah. He actually looks really good. Whoever this actor was, they cast perfectly. All the voices are dubbed because they're actually done by the voiceovers for the cartoon. And that makes sense to me because you wouldn't, I imagine if they were completely different voices, it would really, you see that? Yeah. He turns in like Hulk's out. It looks so good. It looks so good. Yeah, it's they do a great job with these live action intros. And he is a businessman
awesome.
who gets angry and he hulks out, but then he also wears these Iron Man-esque suits of armor. So he's kind of a hybrid character. They don't have there's not a huge supporting cast on this show for both Joe's and I keep saying Cobra and Scar. So you kind of get the same guys every episode. And like one good arrest would stop half the crimes that Scar does. Like they escape every episode.
Just can't get 'em?
Yeah, they escape every episode. And like if just one of these guys would make one arrest, you would solve at least 1/3 of the crimes that are happening from Scar. But inevitably, like all good, action shows, at the end of the episode, the bad guys run away and the good guys don't pursue them.
Classic.
Yeah.
So we got like an underground lair thing going on here.
Yeah. So that's Iron Claw, the guy in the mask, right? That dude with the the skull face mask. It's Extend a Helping Claw by Richard Muller. He's like he's your Cobra Commander character, right? Cobra Commander being you've seen him, right? The guy with the silvery face, the blue hood and all that. Yeah. He's your leader of the bad guys here. And so you've got Rampage in his like War Machine, Iron Man kind of outfit.
Any living tissue into an explosive. What?
And we see, so we're demonstrating, this is the MacGuffin of the show. When he uses this new weapon that he has, it turns living tissues into explosive. It just agitates them and it makes them explosive, right?
But it works.
But it's not
That's
working.
terrifying.
Yeah, but it's not working here, and so he's going to get dressed down, we'll say, by Iron Klaw. He has a very difficult relationship, I would say. Rampage does with Iron Klaw, and this is a fun through line throughout all these episodes. It's kind of a nuanced relationship, which I totally think is a credit to the writers. Rampage consistently thinks he should be leader of Scar, and every time he does a plan, Iron Klaw steps in and kind of like Bigfoots him. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
takes credit for it or tells him he's doing it wrong, even though he might actually be doing it right. And like in this case, it worked. It was just delayed. It took a few seconds, but Iron Klaw left. So
it was too late.
Yeah. So Rampage is always dealing with
I feel bad
this.
for the guy.
Don't you though?
Yeah, I do.
He's like the middle manager in the corporate ladder that never gets credit for stuff that actually works.
Yep.
And I think it's a really kind of great characterization that they've built on the show over multiple episodes. That he's not this inept, to use like a Transformers like Starscream, where everything Starscream touched was terrible. But he always wanted to be leader, and he was always trying to get under Megatron. He is totally competent. He just never, like, it never breaks his way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and he just needs that validation.
Yeah, that's all he
He's
wants.
just looking for it.
That's all he wants. So now Rampage took a cadre of the robotic troopers, and they're heading towards Lucerne. I believe that's in France, if my European geography makes
I'll take
sense.
it.
Yeah, that's the
Works for me.
other neat thing. So
not usually late.
Ben, on this show,
As soon as he gets here, we can start the meeting.
G.I. Joe Extreme is not necessarily a U.S. strike force like you may be familiar with G.I. Joe is.
Okay.
They are more international, and this takes place in the future, about 10 years from wherever you're watching it, because it's Russia has collapsed, the government of it. So in the wake of that left this huge gaping hole for terrorism and other, like people making power plays to kind of fill the void. So G.I. Joe is primarily operating in the European theater. They're not, this stuff doesn't happen on U.S. soil like it did in most of the other seasons.
Gotcha. And they're just trying to save the world type thing?
Yeah.
Trouble,
Yeah.
Lieutenant?
So you see this
We
guy?
got zaps coming in.
This is
Get the delegates inside and away from the windows.
the guy with the
Rampage.
that guy, the guy with the mustache. That actually is Iron Klaw. Iron Klaw, the guy you saw in the previous. Yeah, that's his secret identity per se, and it's like we always forget it on the show. It's like Count Von something, but they don't know that. So he's in disguise, and he operates quote unquote legitimately as that dude, and then he'll go in the other room and he'll change to Iron Klaw, and then
wow.
Yeah. So there's a lot of layers. There's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
So he is very surprised to hear that Rampage is attacking when he told him to lay off, like don't do this. So that's why his face was like, wait, Rampage doing what? And for the record, these robots. Are you trying to tell me that they're not meant to be on rollerblades here? Because it looks like they're on rollerblades. This whole episode. Were you a rollerblading kid?
I feel like I went to the rink a couple times, but I never really figured it out. Horrible at ice skating as well.
Oh, you grew up in Florida.
Yeah.
So
my wife tried to teach me to ski a couple years ago. It's just you got to schlep on the skis everywhere. It's like not a vacation.
Ben, I knew there was a reason I liked you. You and I are on the same page with skiing. I have no use for skiing in my life. You gotta, it is, you're hurtling face first into certain death for what?
Right.
For what?
Exactly.
There is no reason to be doing that whatsoever. You get to the bottom of the hill and then you just go back to the top. Like,
yep.
I don't get it.
It's pointless.
No, there's no, it's not like a Bond movie. No one's shooting at you. That's fun. Not happening. You're just, all you're doing is you're trying to avoid breaking your neck. That's what you do when you ski. I don't like it.
It's extremely uncomfortable. It's so expensive.
I don't like anything about it.
I'll wait for the family. I'll have beers down at the bottom of the mountain.
Oh yeah. That's the last time we went.
Into that.
Yeah, last time we went, for me, it was about 10 years ago, and me and my buddies went to Wyoming, and we had a great time. But after about an hour of going down, and I was okay. I fell a lot, but I wasn't the worst in the world. After about an hour or two of that, I was like, what am I doing? I literally got dressed and then just sat at the bar for the next 3 days. And made friends with, and I made friends with all the locals. And I was like, I made sure my buddies, when they went skiing, I was like, don't bother. Don't worry about me. I'm fine. You guys have fun. Do what you do. This is not for me. And I just made friends with people. Sat at the cowboy bar and sat on a saddle and drank.
I'm into that. Yeah, that's a trip.
So what part of Florida are you from?
I'm from Miami, like North Miami Beach area.
Nice.
Yeah.
And what brought you? What brought
above
you?
80?
Yeah, I imagine.
All the time.
What brought you to New York, or did you go to school there, or what? What's your
So
journey?
I went to Indiana University for college.
Oh, great.
Like wanted like a true American college experience in Bloomington, Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third day of school there, I met my now wife.
What?
Who is from a little town in Jersey. And
we'll be right back. We're going to commercial. We'll be right back. Listeners, I know what you need in your life. You need more podcasts. And you also love movies. So why not do a podcast that's about not one movie. It's about not two movies. It's about 3 movies and a meal. I'm talking the Movies and a Meal podcast. This show is great. It's brought to you by Keith, Brad, and Ben, and each week they bring a new movie to the table, which they all discuss as a group. And it's not, your highfalutin movies. It's What We Do in the Shadows, The Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer, and Out of Sight. It's Bad Education, Ghost Rider, and A View to a Kill. It's X-Men Last Stand, Queen Sugar, The Mandalorian, and Major League 2. They are a lot of fun to listen to. You guys know Ben. It's our friend Ben Pensarga. He was a guest on Joe and Joe. In fact, Ben was the very first remote guest that I ever had on this podcast, so he's always got a special place in my heart. I'm really digging this. I just started listening to it last week. It is a lot of fun. They bring a guest in. The guest, I listened to their Heathers episode. They were joined by Kelly, and she went in depth on her favorite movie, which was Heathers, and it made me want to go watch Heathers to watch with them. I really dig it. So guys, find them out there at Movies and a Meal, Twitter, Instagram. Their website is moviesandameal.podbean.com. They put out 1 episode a week. Give them a listen, guys. Support them. Let them know Joe on Joe sent you. I don't think you're going to be disappointed. It is quite entertaining. And now back to the show. All right, we're back. So wait, so you fell in love with a Jersey girl.
Basically, yes.
I'm a big Springsteen fan, so I love it. I love it.
Yep. And she showed me, I went to New York City for the first time with her, and I just instantly loved the hustle, and there's just so much stuff to do there. I mean, it's overwhelming never going there for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
So then, I think my mind was made up both on, my future with her as well as where we're going to live. And then, we moved to I think after college, moved to city, I got an internship and then a full-time job, all in marketing. And then, haven't looked back since, and we got married 2.5 years ago. Now we're starting our own little family, and I guess we're moving to the suburbs very soon.
Well, yeah, for being forced to. I love it. What's your wife's name? What's her first name?
Her name's Jamie.
Oh, Jamie. Awesome. Yeah. So day 3 of college.
Day 3.
Wow. Was it like a cute meet?
No.
Like you both dropped your books and bumped each other's heads? Oh wait, here we go. We just saw the Baron. He just turned back into Scar. You see this now?
And
Like
he's still in that complex wherever they
Yeah. Like
Oh, wow.
he couldn't make this phone call without doing a full body change. I need it.
He'd be really good right now with the like his looks are very in line with the quarantines.
Oh yeah.
He's got the mask. He's ready
safe.
to go.
He is safe. Listen, he is not the problem. He is not out there saying, I don't want to wear a mask. I don't want to I don't want to keep people safe just by looking a little different than I normally do. He's like, I'm here. I've been keeping people safe before keeping people safe was cool. So was like a you dropped your books and bounced heads meet cute or what?
It's a good story. We were both sitting outside we lived in the same dorm building.
Okay.
And we were both sitting outside. I think I was waiting for a friend. She was maybe doing the same. And we started chatting. And this is when Blackberries were, like, there were no iPhones, right? It was all Blackberries.
Sure.
And Blackberries had BlackBerry Messenger, which I actually miss. It was like instant messaging. Like, it wasn't text messaging. It was its own chat platform.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of asking for someone's number, you would ask for their PIN, which is basically the same thing. But it's like a 4-digit PIN to get their BlackBerry code.
I wonder how many people. How many people just at
So
the time just gave ATM pins.
He's gotta know how to stop what's happening to you.
Seriously.
Yeah. So you got her BlackBerry pin.
Well, she passed me her phone to I think put my pin in, and we had the same exact phone background that we had both individually downloaded from like Google image searching. Like,
what?
I remember when I downloaded it, I looked for like abstract paint. It was like some weird like neon paint thing that I like truly randomly just found on the internet. Like, it didn't come preloaded on the phone or anything.
Yeah.
And we had the same exact one, which was so freaky. And I don't know the odds of that.
That's wild.
There's no way that like, I don't know. Yeah. Wild. So yeah, from there, I think we just hit it off, and, you know, we lived in the same building, so it was very convenient. We ran into each other all the time. And then I want to say a month or two later, we started dating, and then that's history. But
that's
it's a great story. It's almost unbelievable when I'm retelling it.
That is really wild.
Crazy.
Do you still have that background?
Yeah.
Like, have you turned that background into a photo that you have in your house?
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
I have the picture, but yeah, that would be a really good anniversary gift or something.
Yeah. Oh, well, listen.
Print that out.
I hope she doesn't listen to this. Again, I hope your in-laws don't listen, and I hope she doesn't listen to this.
Yep.
And you should totally
For sure.
surprise her with that for your anniversary. That would be. I'm
idea.
sure she would love it. Joe and Joe just making romance happen.
Right.
So,
seriously.
On the show,
And saving me a lot of money on the gift.
Oh my God, yeah, totally. Well, now's the best time. Seriously, I anyone who's having a birthday or anniversary or something during these months, man, you're getting off light, because it's like, the quarantine, I couldn't really shop, so here's.
Yep.
I made this for you, or here's a gift certificate.
Seriously.
On the show, Lieutenant Stone, he got hit with that weapon. So he is glowing, and glowing. I imagine he wouldn't actually be glowing, but for our effect, he's got this glow about him because he is turning into a human bomb, and he is going to explode and kill himself, obviously, and anyone that's around. So the rest of the Joe team is like, well, let's go. We'll go get Rampage with you. And he's like, no, I have to do this alone, because if I die, I don't want to take any of you with me, which is awesome.
Yeah, that is awesome.
It's so good, so self-sacrificing. And then that sets us up basically with the solo adventure here of Stone.
And this is just nonstop action.
Nonstop. Why would they stop? There's no reason to stop.
Right.
Like, can't stop, never stopping. And you see this glow. He's got this. I love it. Even the the gun is glowing. So even his gun is gonna explode. He looks like a Green Lantern.
Oh, he's getting brighter now.
Yeah. Oh, and it's starting to, and they showed earlier. They showed like his cellular structure was being modified. So we're going in a commercial, and Lieutenant Stone's struggling. Today's Filecard feature is on the G.I. Joe. I guess he's the sniper. Ballistic. File name Albert Salviati. He's a good Italian boy. His specialty is pinpoint sharpshooter. He uses incredibly honed visual skills to target in on the enemy in unbelievable feats of marksmanship. He stays ultra cool, never missing a shot when the pressure builds. So this is like the low light or sci-fi kind of combination. His action figure he does look like a cast member of Jersey Shore. They give him these big sideburns, kind of a slick back. I believe he's got a bit of a mullet. It's either a mullet or it might be a full-on ponytail. I think on the show it's more of a ponytail, but he's got these great like greaser sideburns. So that's fun from a characterization perspective. But overall, he's kind of just forgettable to me. That's why I keep forgetting his name when we're doing the show. He's got a very strange color palette. He's got khaki tan pants with kind of a gold vest with a red shoulder guard and black boots. Like there's a lot going on with this guy. His guns, funnily enough, don't look anything like any kind of sharpshooter or sniper gun. I guess the one sort of does, but it doesn't really. Like the barrel's not very long. There's nothing about his weapons that tells me he's a sharpshooter. He doesn't have a mask or anything with any crazy. Like I feel like this is just a sharpshooter in name only. But for those sideburns, Ballistic, Albert Salviati, we salute you. We're back. And he is it's like radiation sickness. And he's just gonna explode. And so here's the rest of the Joe team. They're waiting on this hill because they're kind of like, if it goes south, we need to be here backup, which also I like. Because I feel like usually
they're in it together. Yeah,
they are. And usually on shows like this, when it's like, oh, I need to do this myself, here comes the rollerbladers. Wow, are they rollerbladers? They really are rollerbladers.
Like a derby. It's a roller derby.
It's usually like it's the excuse to just have one dude have a solo adventure, but then all the other team members literally don't help. Like they go, oh, okay, Shipwreck, we're gonna stay here while you go off in your adventure. And this one is different because we're going to be in the area, but I get it. You don't want us anywhere near you in case you literally explode, and we have no idea when that could happen. So this is cool. Like, this is really cool. I like this. There's Quick Strike. I gotta be honest, Ben, I don't know the names of any of these weapons or vehicles.
Oh, I see.
I really don't.
They're badass, though.
They're awesome. Yeah, like one of them's the detonator. They have the Spitfire. They're the Bone Splitter, the Sky Stalker, the Road Bullet. They look really cool, and they're very much that futuristic, angular look. Like.
Are they much more improved than previous Joes?
No, well, improved. I don't think so. They're more high tech looking.
I see.
I feel like if you're designing sports cars, like they're always like sports cars of the future, and then you'd get like a giant bubble or an egg, that egg on wheels, right? Yeah. But when it comes to military vehicles, it goes the opposite direction, and it's like, how can we make it more angular and look more like vectorized, like with weird computer angles and lots of circuitry showing. It doesn't seem to get except the airplanes. The airplanes definitely get more streamlined, but the vehicles themselves seem to be more like, here's exposed wheels and just a cockpit.
Does the same thing.
Yeah. And the previous G.I. Joe stuff was more real based. They were more like, oh, here's an actual Jeep that could exist, and then we'll slap some stickers on it and call it a Vamp, So now you see that Rampage.
He's gonna Hulk out.
Yeah, he hulks out. Yep. And now they're playing like country dancing, like swing dancing. Because what Stone did is Stone attached himself via a handcuff, basically. You see that? So he's like, if I'm gonna explode, you're gonna explode, buddy. So it's a great move. It's the only move he has. Because if Rampage knows how to stop it, then he's gonna have to stop it. Otherwise, Rampage is going to die. It's so smart. So, Ben, on this show, we love to ask our guests that if they could be a member of the Joe or Cobra team, what would they, or Scar team in this case, or G.I. Joe Extreme? I'm not going to limit you. If you could be a member of either one of these, what would you be? Would you be a good guy or a bad guy? And what would your specialty be? And if you have a codename idea.
I think I'm definitely on the good guy side. I'm on the Joe side.
Okay.
I don't got time to be, I gotta help people.
I like that.
Yeah. The specialty, I think it'd be really helpful to be able to read people's minds. Is that?
Oh, so you're talking like superpowers?
Yeah, I see that. I didn't know if we could go superpower or if they need to be like.
Well, I mean, I don't see why we can't. I mean, Cobra had the crystal ball, who was the hypnotist, and he dabbled. But I think it needs like have you been mentally like, you're not a mutant. They don't have mutants. So perhaps perhaps you've been augmented by a machine or something.
Sure.
Okay, I like it.
I'll take that.
Okay.
I'll take it.
Okay.
Yeah, experimentation gone, or surgery gone wrong.
Frequencies locked.
And yeah, now I can just tap into people's minds. And,
I love it.
yeah.
And what's your code
You
name?
want to do the honor?
Yeah, I need help there.
Okay.
Well,
I think I know it. Actually, I totally.
Oh, okay.
I totally know what it is. It's your name is search engine.
Oh my God! Yes.
Yes, your name is search engine, and you can read people's minds based on a science experiment gone awry.
Their browsing history and
yeah. Browse. Yeah, their mental browsing history.
Yeah.
Their actual mental browsing history.
Genius.
Yeah. So they call you. So hey, search engine. Welcome to the Joe and Joe team.
It's an honor. Thank you.
It's an honor to have you. So Ben, what we got here now? This is a PSA. And this is yeah, exactly. And this is a good one. This is where the knowing is half the battle stuff always comes into play. And this is all about kids riding bicycles. So Mayday shows up and she's like, hey, you should wear helmets. Just because you're riding around looking cool doesn't mean you don't want head safety. And I love it, because that was a big thing then of trying to convince kids to wear helmets. I never wore a helmet, ever. I never owned a helmet.
Wow.
It's not a thing. Were you a helmet kid?
Yeah. Just the helmet though. I didn't do like knee pad, elbow pad stuff, but had to protect the dome.
Not a thing. Never even knew there were bicycle helmets in the 80s.
Wow.
Not a thing. So this is great. This is great, because you're also educating the parents of like, hey, maybe you didn't grow up with a helmet, but your kids probably should.
Oh, I didn't know there were PSAs. There's probably some amazing ones.
Oh, they really are. There's some that are like,
yeah.
Don't tell child molesters where you live, or don't light your friend on fire when you're camping, and the kid's arm goes up and blazes. There's some really, really great ones. And
Unreal.
a long history of PSAs, and that's where you get the now we know, and knowing is half the battle.
I see.
Yeah, it's great.
That I've heard. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a staple of G.I. Joe. It's one of the best things. Absolutely one of the best things. Well, that's your first episode of G.I. Joe, Ben. Or should I
loved it.
Or should I say search engine?
I loved it. I can tell you liked it too. I can just tap into your mind and figure that out.
So true. Yeah, it's fun, right? Like it's.
Yeah, I mean it's a little unrealistic, or maybe a lot unrealistic, and you're right. The plot always just at the end just fizzles out and they get away, and I kind of like that.
Yeah, because you got to live to fight. You got to live to fight another day.
Exactly.
If there were no new bad guys, then their budget would get slashed, and there would be no need for them, right? So
exactly,
you gotta keep the fires stoked, the fires of terrorism. Apparently, apparently that's what we're learning. Well, Ben, this has been a delight, man. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you. This has been a blast.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
And listeners, remember, behind the face of every corporate giant, there's awesome people doing the good work and helping small businesses, medium businesses, big businesses. There's always someone pulling the levers. And one of those people you met today, the fantastic Ben Kruger. Ben, good luck with your search in New Jersey.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, I hope you guys figure out a permanent domicile situation soon. And I'm glad to hear that you're healthy and got out, because it's scary times in New York the last few months.
I appreciate it very much, and glad you're doing well also.
Yeah, you got it.
Thank you for having me. This was a blast.
So much fun on this end. And search engine, now you Joe. And Joeing is half the battle. Extreme!